What's cracking, traders? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon GO Battle League content. Today's video, we got some games sent into the channel by MENACE, who's running the cruelest team this side of the Ultra League with an XL Toedscruel Tentacruel combination in the back. Toedscruel is the new kid on the block as far as the Ultra League meta is concerned, with that Mud Slap Wrap combo, able to brute force its way through some otherwise not great matchups, even things like Virizion it can do well into. And in the lead, we're going to be running a Primeape here. MENACE looking to cover his bases with this hard-hitting glass cannon. Excited to see these games. Trainers, let's get started and see what MENACE has got in the Ultra League with this team. Primeape on the lead in the first game against Komo, and we're going to be having a fine time here as we're going to have a good pacing advantage to any moves here. I believe close combat is not going to be enough to get a full knockout of a fairly kind of bulky dragon, I guess. Bulky in a sense, right? Komo is certainly not glassy, but it's not... I mean, it's not Guzzlord levels of bulk, let's be honest, or Giratina by any means. We're going to be going into the Tentacruel here. Toedscruel's sad, weeping in the back even, that it couldn't land itself on this belly bolt. And that's going to be one of the unfortunate things here, is that you are ABA strong in Primeape and Toedscruel, but if you just happen to swap out Tentacruel and it gets to pull this thing, that just makes a very sad time. The opponent also on Thundershock on their belly bolt, able to get to the moves very, very quickly. Now, is it Toedscruel who comes in and gets this farm down and tries to make a lot of farm out of all these debuffs here? The opponent going to be going for another move here. They're going to be this is laughable damage. I've seen this firsthand. Going for the parabolic charge, it just tickles, dude. It healed the Toedscruel, man. And we're going to see the opponent look to go for a charge move. The Primeape is going to respect this damage. Dragon Claw thrown. The opponent going to have to shield back, though. This close combat would do a lot of damage if it lands. The opponent's not going to shield it, but can they get to the... Yes, they can get to another move. They had the second move loaded. That Dragon Claw would be lethal here, and Komo is going to get the knockout. Primeape's going to let it go... Primeape's going to let it go down. And it comes out in the back. The opponent has the Golisopod. This is not what you want to see with the Toedscruel by any means. Going for this wrap here, trying to see if we can find our way through this matchup. Getting the defense drop here is nice. I don't believe it's guaranteed on wrap, but going to be able to get another one off. This might even pull a shield. The opponent has a decision to make. Now they're very low. Do we let a move go here? Is this going to be a loss? I don't know, man. This is hard to say. At least we know, though, that the opponent's not on... My goodness, those Mud Slaps are chunking with that debuff. The opponent trying to get the two moves, but they can't do it. And now Wrap is going to be able to... Oh, and they're triple resisted Thundershocks. You're getting to the Wrap here, looking to get that defense drop. Can the opponent get to two moves or Thundershock down? No, they can't, because Toedscruel is just too much for the Thundershock belly bolt. Try Sucker Punch next time, trainer. Good game, well played. Next game, Primeape into Weezing. This is a horrible, terrible lead, but at least we have two better answers in the back. We're going to see that Tentacruel come in and try to do something with this, but the opponent props in with their Lapras that will be resisting all of the energy here, doing super effective right back with these Psy Waves. Opponent going for a move. This is just an Aria. They don't have Skull Bash, it seems, and Tentacruel is at least sighing in relief, knowing that it doesn't have to worry about getting Skull Bashed. However, Psy Waves are still going to add up. Skull going to look to try and do some damage, trying to even get a debuff maybe, but at least, well, Tentacruel... I mean, Toedscruel, I guess, does okay into this. I'm trying to think if this was a good bait out or not, but we're going to be able to, unfortunately, not get to another move. The opponent going to go ahead and send the move, but can they get the farm down? Nari is not going to be enough. Getting for another Scald here. That's going to do quite a bit. It's not going to be able to be enough to knock out, I don't think, but it's going to be very, very close. Could try and snipe with the Primeape. The opponent getting to a move here. Primeape comes in, not able to get the Karate Chop down, but letting it go because really there's no reason for us to go for a shield here of an Aria or an Ice Beam. It wouldn't do enough to knock out. And Primeape's going to get just matched up against the Weezing anyway, so we have to rely on the power of Toedscruel to win us this game. Can he do it again? Brutal Swing is not going to get shielded here. The opponent has the Virizion. Let's see if we can make heads or tails of this matchup with the Virizion. Now, you can do well here if you're up energy, especially with the Wrap debuffs. They do start to add up, and the opponent going to have as much energy as they want here, though, but Toedscruel doesn't have to shield anything, but decides to go for it anyway. Leaf Blade needs to stay healthy enough to be able to deal with it, but unfortunately the opponent's going to be able to outpace very, very much here, and there's not enough energy left on that Primeape to be able to quickly snipe into a charge move, so we're going to have to come down to see if Primeape can possibly handle the Weezing from its state. You're going to be going into the Primeape right now. The opponent, unfortunately, also able to switch. The switch clocks were pretty close to each other in that case here. Rage Fist gonna be not doing enough to even get a shield in this matchup, but now it might be able to be enough to get a shield as the opponent lets them get enough farm to try and get to another move here. The opponent gonna let this one go as well. They're not in any danger of the Karate Chop action figure getting the farm down here, and they're gonna go ahead and concede. Good game, well played. Next game, we got Stunfisk. Unova Stunfisk. Well, it's nice this isn't on the Tentacruel, but you really wish it was on the Toedscruel, man. But the opponent going to be going for that move right away. Primeape can load up on a couple of close combats here, but the opponent's going to be able to fire off 2 Mud Bombs, and because Primeape is not particularly all that bulky, and the opponent reads the Primeape like a book, going for the charge move on charge attack priority after the close combat will land here. That's going to force a shield off the Primeape if they want to keep it alive. They do. There's value here in this Primeape. The opponent going to go for the Lapras Psywave. Oh no, Trainer, you didn't. Oh, Trainer, you didn't. That close combat. Oh, they get the shield, man! Oh, why did you have to swap in and shield that, Trainer? I wanted to see you get one shot. Anyway, back to reality, Trainer. And oh, there goes Gravity. Attack drop on the Scald. Man, that was a sick segue. Skull Bash on this Lapras. Okay. Stay hydrated, folks. Water's good for you. Skull Bash was unfortunate. Scald's going to do nothing now. At this point, we're probably tickling, but at least we're getting the attack debuffs here, which is helpful in this matchup to live another Aria. To be able to get to another Scald, maybe we want to save the Scald. Even the attack drops here. Actually, Skull Bash going straight for it. Primeape can just go for a move here, honestly. Going for the close combat. Rage Fist with these Skull Bash buffs might not be enough to get the knockout. Close combat, not getting shielded. Opponent going to go ahead and bring in their Florges, Tentacruel, no, Toedscruel. The other Cruel comes in. And at least they're switch locked. These wraps are going to be nice. The opponent going for the Trailblaze bait here. They want to land that Moonblast in this matchup, but Toedscruel is going to be looking to shrug that damage off and fire off the wrap, looking for that debuff yet again to get those Mud Slap increases. And we get it. The opponent going to have a bad time. They're not going to be able to survive too many more of these Mud Slaps. Toedscruel looking to put up a shield. The opponent goes for another Trailblaze, makes us miserable. But we're going to get the final shield off of the opponent here for this wrap. Now it's going to come down to a potential catch, I think, on the Primeape. Can we get that catch? The opponent going to go for the move here. Going to get the catch. The opponent throws right away, and Primeape comes in, says, catch this Moonblast. And then Toedscruel will allow you to catch these hands. The opponent can do nothing with the Unovan Stunfisk, and they know it, and that's going to be a good game. Well played. Goodness, all that resisted damage, just nothing that Ufisk was doing. And our Nemesis returns here, the Weezing once again in this game here. Oh my goodness, no please. Let's get rid of this thing. There's a Greninja on the other side of the field. Now, this is not as good, but at least the Greninja is far less bulky than something like Jellicent, which is what I was expecting. That's usually what comes in when I see the opponent with a Weezing lead and I'm weak to it. Swap into something like Lapras or Tentacruel, and there's a Jellicent there, of course, as always. The opponent going to shield up the potential Sludge Wave, and it's just a Scald Trainer. We're going to be going for another Night Slash. The opponent ends up just kind of coping with this move damage, to be honest, but Tentacruel is going to be able to fire back with a Scald. Still hasn't had to shield a thing. These Night Slashes are not enough here. Greninja is just not an answer to this bulky jellyfish made of just poison and water. Night Slash going to be doing even less damage now with that Scald debuff. The opponent has a second one. Tentacruel finally forced to put up a shield here in this matchup if it wants to survive. Night Slash going to be taking out. Otherwise, Manchex is going to be going for this Scald here right away. Wants to get rid of the Greninja. The opponent having to make a decision. They're going to let that go. And Feraligatr comes in and gets just a nice, sick farm. That is a really unfortunate farm down because that puts it very, very close to Ice Beam and all kinds of things that make this just very sad. But the opponent going to swap out immediately. And in comes Toedscruel to Mud Slap through this whole entire Weezing. But the opponent has Overheat. And now there's shambles to be had here because the opponent has the Overheat. That's super effective. Massive damage they could have done. Nice shield call here by Manchex, but the Overheat still going to do quite a bit of damage. And I don't think Toedscruel is going to be winning CMP into this opponent's Feraligatr. So we're going to force the opponent to throw the energy. He needs to go for the Wrap and Pray. The opponent going to be surviving on 1 HP. The opponent comes in also and goes for the extra Shadow Claw. The opponent now going to have to shield this thing. And I don't think any one move is going to knock out here. And I don't know that they can have 2 moves or anything of the sort. Actually, you can't have 3 Hydro Cannons. They're going to need an extra couple. If this Primeape's close enough to a move, which it might be, should be able to survive 1 Hydro Cannon and slap this Gator upside the head with that Rage Fist for the game-winning knockout move. There it is, going for the Rage Fist. Primeape showing how dominant it can be by doing almost nothing this whole game. Tentacruel and Toedscruel carried that game, let's be honest. Still very well played on both sides. Good game, guys. Swampert coming in here and it's going to have to think about a close combat, but this is not good for Tentacruel because of how much damage those muds. Oh man, going straight for the Hydro Cannon. I'm expecting this opponent to have a Earthquake on this thing. That's why I wouldn't want to come in with Tentacruel, but if they end up having, ooh, could have been a close combat dip moment, man. I don't know, but that's okay. Saving all that energy is always going to be useful on this Primeape. Opponent going to be bringing in the Virizion, and Tentacruel comes in. Being able to at least resist these moves is nice, but you have to go for a Blizzard to get a knockout, hoping to just do enough with the Scald, and the opponent puts up a shield, not willing to risk that being a Sludge Wave, as some Tentacruels are running that now. The opponent going to be going for that neutral Leaf Blade. Tentacruel is going to be able to do quite a bit of damage here in this matchup with these Poison Stings. They are adding up quick. Opponent going for the Leaf Blade here. They're not able to get the KO, and they're going to go for the other Scald. Bank the Scald, and Swampert comes in and will be in a lot of trouble here, as Toedscruel is resisting everything that's not Hydro Cannon, and even Hydro Cannon is not enough to two-shot here. Going for the Seed Bomb, though. Don't want to take any risks. Trying to get this Swampert off the board ASAP. Opponent going to get taken out by the Seed Bomb. That would have taken out at least 15 Swamperts and their respective families. And in comes Virizion trying to get rid of this Toedscruel. The opponent really does not like Toedscruel in the back, possibly. They're going to be going straight for this Wrap now after the opponent goes for that charge move. And Wrap going to lower the defense here, potentially allowing something to farm down. In comes the Primeape, looking for it. The opponent brings in Jellicent. And now, normally, this is not a good matchup, but with like 3 Rage Fists loaded, yeah, no, this is fine for Primeape. We're just going to unload Rage Fist after Rage Fist after Rage Fist, and the opponent only on their 3rd Hex. I believe the Primeape would even comfortably get to another move if the opponent baited with Surf, but they're not getting there. We're going for the game-winning Rage Fist once. Now this game, Primeape absolutely flexing what a monster it is. And the Tentacruels are happy to have it on the team. Let's go. Good game. Well played. Getting into the next battle, we got Primeape on the lead here versus a Belly Bolt. Well, if it has Sucker Punch, this is pretty nice. If the opponent is on Thundershock, we're never going to know. But they come in with a Tentacruel, and the Toedscruel immediately swaps in to greet it. Having to go for the Wrap, though. We're going to respect the potential Blizzard here. The opponent could be full sending. It's just a Scald, it always is. And you even get the attack drop. Oh, how unfortunate. But Toedscruel, if it can remain healthy enough, can absolutely just wall the Belly Bolt and force the opponent to come in with their 3rd Pokemon. The opponent's going to be able to get to another move here, but this feels a little quick, and Elmencheg says this is not a Blizzard, it's just another Scald, and they're going to be able to live this and get the farm down, and Belly Bolt cannot come into this matchup. Instead, in comes the Talonflame, safe switching back into the Primeape, looking to go for a move here before the opponent finishes that 3rd Incinerate, is going to be able to get to a Fly. Tentacruel looking good now against the opponent's Talonflame. The brain had to catch up with me for a second there. We had a little bit of lag. Now the system is lagging, but now in comes Belly Bolt, and they are on the Sucker Punch. And at this point, you could just go straight for close combats. The opponent has absolutely no fast move pressure here, and the Belly Bolt gets locked down. They need like 3 Zap Cannons to knock out a Toedscruel from the range it's at, and Tentacruel will just simply dominate that entire matchup. The opponent going to let the close combat go, and Talonflame is going to come back in trying to do a 2-0 shield sweep, but they're going to be unfortunately seeing the Tentacruel, and they're forced to give up their shields as well. Tentacruel now has a lot of work to put up here. Nice thing, though, is that the Toedscruel could potentially get a Wrap in at some point if we're able to whittle down the Talonflame enough. Now, opponent's going to be firing off this energy immediately. They're just going for the Fly. Manchegs doesn't need to worry about this. The opponent going to be going, huh? You want to explain, huh? 2 turns plus 2 turns plus the swap. I guess that does technically land it on the 5th turn where they should sneak and Incinerate. So if you're going to do that in the future, I guess just go for the 1 and then swap. But this is fine here. The opponent needs the Brave Bird. Is the Brave Bird even going to be enough? We saw how much the Fly did. I don't think it's enough. The opponent going for it. The Fly, the Brave Bird, not enough. Tentacruel is going to be able to take that game. Well played to the opponent. All right, Primeape on the lead here versus an Alolan Sandslash. You love to see this, man. But the backline does not want to see this. Opponent brings in Golisopod. In comes the Tentacruel to make it miserable. Golisopod is never winning this matchup, unfortunately. Even though the Tentacruel does not have the Sludge Wave, The unfortunate thing, though, is that we do lose a pacing war here. The opponent going to be able to hit with Aqua Jets very quickly, but the Scald from this Tentacruel is going to do quite a good chunk of damage, where 2 should be able to cleanly knock out with the Poison Stings involved. We're going to see the opponent looking to let this one go. They do, I think they got the attack. No, they got the attack debuff. That just forever seals their fate in the wrong direction, as this Golisopod is unfortunately never going to be able to do anything about this. But, oh, yeah, and now I think they said in the forum it was a misclick. They meant to go into the Toedscruel here. This must be that game. Opponent gonna have to now go for as many surfs as they like here, because unfortunately this Primeape does not have a fantastic matchup into the Jellicent, and that Toedscruel with Seed Bomb would have done really well here, but that's okay. We'll see if we can come back from this game. Opponent going to be going for extra energy, throwing the Rage Fist right away in case the opponent tries to go for the extra move, but they're looking to go for a shield and farm down. They want this energy. But now the switch clock is available. Primeape putting up the final Protect Shield, as it does need to be able to be used to deal with the Alolan Sandslash, but the opponent comes in with the Golisopod now. Saving the energy, in comes Tentacruel, looking to try to unleash some Scalds onto that Alolan Sandslash. The opponent in a very good spot now, unfortunately, because of the misclick. But I think Toedscruel has a chance here. If we can survive one Ice Punch, there is always a chance. We just need to get that final shield. The opponent's going to throw that Drill Run before the Tentacruel can get to the move here. Unfortunately, on Charge Attack priority, we're losing those. And Alolan Sandslash gets the Drill Run. We're in a very bad spot. Toedscruel's going to come in here, look to try to get this thing low enough. The Ice Punch is not going to do enough to get a knockout, even though it's double super effective. The bulk on the Toedscruel is just too much, but it is going to be quite a bit of damage here. Looking to make the catch, the game-saving catch. My goodness, if that does it, that's going to be huge. Ice Punch knocks out the... Oh, in comes the Jellicent. Can we get to the... No, the opponent gets to the move. Oh, that's brutal. Oh, well played. Good game. Almost came back from that. Very close as it was. And we're getting into the next game. Heads held high into another Wheezing, and now suddenly my head's bound low. Swapping straight into Tentacruel. See what happens. The opponent bracing Kitina. I'm laughing because this is the kind of thing that happens to me on a constant daily basis. This is where my negative climbs come from. The ones that keep me going in the downward direction. Manchegs, unfortunately, is seeing that right now happen in real time, but fortunately able to land that Blizzard. The opponent, unsuspectingly, not going to let that go and get their shield, and now they're forced to start shielding Scalds, as this Tentacruel is getting dangerously close to having 2 of them. Opponent having to go for a charge move here. The Dragon Claw is not quite enough. Can Tentacruel get to another move? I think it can get to 2. Scald going through, looking to get the shield or flip switch advantage here. The opponent going to go ahead and let that go. Can Tentacruel get to the move? Yes, it can. Just barely hangs on because it loves its trainer so much. And going to be able to get the Scald off the opponent, trying to get that farm down, but they're not going to make it. They don't want to invest a second shield, and they immediately top left, knowing that they've lost from the switch advantage. Or they just are frustrated like I would be after making a mistake. Maybe they thought they shouldn't have. Either way, we're going to get into the next game. The opponent made a valiant effort, and unfortunately it wasn't to be. Now where this Primeape, unfortunately, is going to have to stay in here. Maybe we try to catch the Moonblast or something on the Tentacruel, but the opponent very happy to have this Tentacruel stay in here. They are at the Future Sight now, and we have to find out if they have Future Sight. They have Moonblast. Looks like they may have Grass Knot plus Moonblast. So this might be a safe way to bring in Tentacruel here, in case we want to bait out any answers in the back, or just bait anything else out in the back in general. But nice thing here that Primeape is going to be able to get to the third Rage Fist. Going to force a shield off the Cresselia if they want to keep it, but they decide not to. They just let this very healthy Primeape walk all over them. Primeape's going to be able to get up to close combat, going to throw this bait, and honestly, just let the Primeape cook, man. The opponent lets it go. We could have gone into the Toedscruel. Okay, going into the Tentacruel to absorb this energy. Opponent has a choice to make, though. They have Crunch, which is nice for them in this matchup, but they can't. They can't. They got to stay. They're staying in, going for another Crunch debuff. Then loading up energy on this Tentacruel could never be a good thing. That's because they have a Primeape in the back. Trainer is not ready for the smoke that this Tentacruel is about to deliver. They're going to need 2 moves to be able to get rid of this thing at minimum. And this thing's getting to a Scald before the opponent can do that. Now, they're going to be able to ramp up their Primeape. Unfortunately, this is going to be a very interesting endgame here. But Toedscruel is going to come in immediately. And we are praying that this thing does not have the Ice Punch that it's going to need to be able to do massive damage to the Toedscruel. Close combat reached. Now we're going to be able to go for a wrap if need be. Opponent going for another charge move. This is definitely going to be the Rage Fist bait here. They're going, no, they're full setting close combat. But that Toedscruel lives it. Oh, and no, unfortunately, they're not going to be able to live the Karate Chop that comes after. But we're putting it all on the back of the Primeape here, letting the opponent get the shield here, going for the Rage Fist right away. They need to be able to get to a move here against the Gator. Do we not? Don't remember the amount of farm the opponent had going to look for Alligator farm down. And who was worried? Primeape wasn't worried. Primeape serves its trainer well by going off as it does. And we get into the next game. It gets 4 Weezings in 2 sets, bro. I would be mauling my face off at this point. Let's see if Manchegs can get through this one as well. Opponent's got the Moltres. Hey, there's no hard answer to Tentacruel in the back. We have a chance here. Opponent's going to be able to go for the fly, though. We let him farm a little bit too much. Now we're going to have to force a shield here. We need Switch so bad in this matchup. We're hoping the opponent also doesn't have Overheat. Some of them do. If they do, well, the Toedscruel's going to have a bad day. The opponent going to not shield that move. It's crazy. That could have been a Blizzard trainer. We full send Blizzard in this house, I think. That's just the future call we are going to have to make. Going for the Scald here. The opponent's shielding this one, and they get the debuff, which is really nice. And the opponent either lost count or is trying to overfarm. And fortunately, Tentacruel is able to get to another move and force both shields off of this Moltres, which is now trying to overfarm as much as possible. Is this going to be enough with the debuff? The opponent going to full send the Brave Bird. Yes, they do. And drop their Primeape back in. But Primeape here has a distinct ability to now one-shot this if the opponent doesn't go for the Rage Fist. They go for the close combat, and now the Primeape can go in for the one-shot. Oh, I have the button ready. Give it to me, dude. Primeape on Primeape violence. The angry monkeys. Oh. And in comes the Weezing now. We have Toedscruel against the Weezing, and we are happy enough with that. The opponent also not doing too well in their backline because that Primeape was the only thing standing between them and Oblivion. As now Toedscruel rather, sorry. Toedscruel is just loving life right now, absorbing. Oh no, they have the overheat! Bro, they bamboozled me so bad. Oh, they got me, dude. Now Tentacruel needs to make it. Well, the Brutal Swing's not going to be enough from this range. Can we get to the Scald? Is the Scald enough? The Brutal Swing? Somebody stop me. Please. Overheat. Wait, they had Sludge, didn't they? But the Overheat's enough, and unfortunately, a tragic game loss, and that was the last game. Oh, man. Dude, Toedscruel was pulling some weight, but let's be honest, Primeape was a menace in a couple of those games. Always fun to watch these kinds of games, man. 2750 elo or so, very relevant elo for those of you trying to climb. If you want to try this fun team, Primeape is always fun. Toedscruel, if you happen to get one, I don't know. It's not a very realistic grind to have one yet, but hopefully if you're able to get one, you have the XLs, give it a shot. You never know. And Tentacruel is always solid as a safe swap in the Ultra League, so I like this team quite a bit, actually. Hey, let me know in the comments what you think about the team. We'll catch you in the next one. As always, thank you very much. Bye-bye.